Industry Insider coming to you from Soundwave 2014. It's the third leg of the tour. We're here in Melbourne, and joining me, Bec and Emily from Deathproof PR. How are you, ladies?
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me your time, because you're actually on the clock right now.
In the middle of it.
And anything could go wrong at any moment.
That is right.
But let's hope everything goes right and we'll be okay. But,
Yeah.
but it is a music festival. That's probably just not going to happen.
Ring.
Yeah, well, you're the only person in an interview that's allowed to keep, well, both of you can keep them on ring.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, don't. So you can take them off silent. If that looks like it's on silent, actually. Is that on silent?
No, not at
No,
all.
it's okay. All right, good. All right.
Got to be
good.
ready for any emergency.
Oh, absolutely. Now you guys take care of everything on site here at Soundwave.
All of the media.
Yeah, all the media. Deathproof PR's pretty fucking big. We're having a look at it the other day. You've represented over 50 artists, and you've also got what's the other thing? You've got Deathproof. Is it publicity? No, there was another one that I was just reading about that you're about to launch.
Deathproof Social.
Deathproof Social.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, there's all that to talk about. So, but give us a little bit more about your backgrounds individually before we get into Deathproof.
Cool, sure. I just started out studying music business and got a job through interning at Sony Music. I was doing retail stuff there. And then I got a job at EMI after that and moved into the promotions department pretty quickly just because that's what I was interested in. And then went on to work with Shock in Melbourne. And then after a few years at Shock, that's where Em and I met. And after a few years, we decided we needed a bit of a challenge, so we decided to break off and do our own thing.
Yeah.
And that's when Deathproof was born.
Yeah. What about yourself?
A little bit simpler than Bex, I guess. I did the same thing. I studied media and then did some freelance music journalism, which didn't pay any bills whatsoever.
That's why I'm not a music journalist. I'm definitely not a journalist. No, I'm not. No. Never studied, never want to be one.
No.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, yeah.
Good choice. So I just looked for something else in music communication. So the obvious choice is then publicity.
Yeah.
So I did PR at Shock Records for 5 or 6 years. Met Beck, hung out,
Drank a lot.
saw heaps of bands.
Yeah.
Got really drunk one night, seeing lots of bands, and went, "Let's start a business."
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well,
I was like, we needed a challenge, and you're like, we got drunk and started a business.
Well, congratulations on that, because generally most people that talk about that crap when they're drunk never really
Yeah,
do
do it.
anything.
The challenge is getting a Panadine or something the next day to get rid of the
KFC,
hangover.
getting in the car,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think the thing is you've just got to do it, Like I think a lot of people come up with ideas and just stop at that, but we just kind of were like, all right, well, let's give it a go and see what happens. Like it was always a worst case scenario. We get a job in a pub. You know what I mean? Like if it's not paying the bills, we
and
just...
that ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You can still listen to music and drink and hang out with your mates. So.
Exactly, yeah. So if that's the worst case scenario, then we didn't really see it as much of a risk, and it's just really lucky that it's taken off. And
Do you think it's a lot more difficult today to kick off a PR agency than it would have been when you were doing it? Because I know from before 2008, it was still, there's still a lot of angles to take. Social media wasn't kicking off as much. You could still sort of go out to your contact bases and talk to people, build a bit of a rapport. Now though, anybody with a camera, anybody with a, they can make a logo, they can make a Facebook page. Oh, I do PR, I work with these bands.
Yeah.
Do you think it's harder today than it was when you would have started?
no, I think you still need a really good relationship with the traditional media, and you need to have a database full of all of the little blogs and all of the little tastemakers, anyone that can help you out, and that's something that's like we had the luxury of sort of building those relationships at the labels that we worked for, and we were lucky enough to take those with us. I think it would be really hard for someone to start out from scratch.
Yeah.
But if you have, it's just about keeping those relationships going throughout your career, I guess. So yeah, I wouldn't think it would be very easy for someone to start from scratch, but it was actually reasonably easy for us to do that.
Yeah, cool. Now tell us a bit more about Deathproof Social that you're working on.
It's a side venture, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it is just taking advantage of the opportunities that are opened up by social media. Obviously, doing PR, we have an understanding of that side of communications and how it works. So we have a couple clients that we just work on their social media approach for businesses, whether it's music or something else, and just basically use what we've learned through traditional music PR to help different kinds of businesses. across social platforms.
Okay, so that's not quite launched on your website yet, that I noticed, but what are you looking at doing with that? Like, just gonna work it out. Just gonna work it out, and once Soundwave's done, and you've had a
unfortunately, Deathproof Social has taken a bit of a backseat recently because we've been so busy with other things. But it's definitely something that we want to do, and sort of as Em said, we can branch out a little bit and use it to help brands outside of the music industry get sort of some exposure with the crowd that we deal with.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're planning to do.